Hello and welcome to Edinburgh Business Stories. EBS is hosted by myself, Alex Richards of Umore, a video production studio based in Edinburgh and Bristol, and Alan Smith of Action Coach, providing business coaching throughout Edinburgh and the Lothians. If you aren't already, remember to subscribe, and I hope you enjoy this upcoming episode of Edinburgh Business Stories. Carina, thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, so give us a snapshot of who you are and what your businesses are.
So I'm half of Victor and Carina Contini restaurants. We've got 3 restaurants in the city and started at Contini George Street. Many will know 103, 103 George Street, but people challenge with the pronunciation, so we changed to Contini. We've got the Scottish Café, the National Galleries, and Cannonball Restaurant up at the Castle and the Royal Mile.
Amazing. So let's go back to the beginning. You can go back as early as you would like. Where did this all start?
So we always choose 1919 as the moment. That's when my dad was born, and I'm definitely a daddy's girl. I'm the youngest of 8. I adored him. He was just a sweetie pie. He was lovely. He was fierce. You know, you didn't question my father, but he was, and when Victor actually asked, to marry me, he actually went down on his knees, and my dad looked at him and he went, "Victor, son, what's wrong?" He went, Can I marry your daughter? Can I marry Carina? Take her away." Classic line. Brilliant, lovely man. Anyway, so 1919, he was born in this tiny, tiny little village, hamlet called Ichaka. My family name is Dichaka, near Pigeonisco, above Monte Cassino, between Rome and Naples, where many of the diaspora of Italian Scots, that sort of region as the Val di Camino is a huge magnet for Edinburgh and for Scotland to pull people from Italy, either pre or post First, Second World War. And so he was born, and then the next year, the family came to Scotland and started selling ice cream and fish and chips. And on Victor's side of the family, because we are connected in every way, their family had actually come over in about 1914, and his grandfather was great friends with my grandfather, and he'd written to my grandfather to say, "Come over to Scotland because the people are really lovely, the food's good, and the weather's not too bad."
Sorry, an Italian said that the Scottish food was good.
And the weather's bad.
Not too bad.
Okay.
Well, think about it. They were up in the mountains, so they were self-sufficient. They had sheep, so they were making pecorino cheese. They were making salamis. They had pigs. They had their own olives. They had their own crops, corn. They were making polenta, and they were bartering their produce, whether it was the cheese that they made or the salami that they'd made. They were bartering that for people that were trading. And some of the things they were trading, maybe salt cod, bacala. They didn't have fresh fish. You didn't have lobsters or mussels. So to come to Scotland and taste things like that is particularly, our family were drawn to the coast, Cockenzie. So that abundance of shellfish, they thought this was incredible. So they may not have had the pasta or the olive oil, which, in those days they were buying it from the chemist. It was so rare, You're too young to know that story.
Say that again. Who in Scotland we were buying pasta from the chemist?
No, olive oil. Olive oil traditionally was bought through chemists because it was such a precious ingredient, and it was and it's still very, very expensive. Yeah. We know that. Yeah. The real stuff is anyway. So they thought this was, and they were making ice cream. So that the availability of cow's milk for ice cream, cream, butter, these weren't ingredients that they had. So they were happy. They thought this was great. So I'm so glad that they did it. So here we are, 100 years later, and taking the inspiration. I mean, Victor's family, they had their shop on Easter Road originally, the Tiffin, and they used to look after all the Hibs team. So there's a connection. But that sort of local ingredients, freshly prepared, and serving the community is at the heart of both of our families.
What does it really take to grow a business in Scotland today? This episode of Edinburgh Business Stories is brought to you by Henderson Loggie, chartered accountants and business advisors who help owner-managed businesses grow, from those first steps as an entrepreneur through to a happy retirement. Based right here in Scotland, Henderson Loggie knows what it takes to succeed locally. And through their membership of Prime Global, they help clients thrive internationally too. Their purpose? Helping their people, clients, and communities unlock their full potential, building legacies, creating wealth for local communities, and opening doors to future success. To learn more, get in touch with the Edinburgh team at Henderson Loggie today.
And listen, before we get into, I don't want to lose the kind of the football reference as well, because there's a little story that's worthwhile telling, isn't there?
Well, my grandfather, so my mother's father, Hugh Hilly, played for Celtic, 1919 to 1929, 10 years. Right. He was a left back. Yeah. He was an Irishman, you can imagine, feisty, and he scored a home goal against Rangers in the cup final. Never kicked a ball again. He had about, 15 grandsons. Never played football.
Brilliant.
So that, but the thing about Grandpa, and we're a family business, and we talk about being a family business because we're really, they're our mentors. That generation around us, they're our mentors. And I remember going through because they lived in Glasgow, went through to Glasgow, and I must have been about 6 or 7, and I've looked this up. I can't remember which one it is, but Rangers were playing in the European Cup against somebody, and it was abroad. It was Germany or something. So a German team or something. And Grandpa was always so enthusiastic, particularly about football, sport. And he was cheering for Rangers. And I was 6 or 7. I'm going, Grandpa, why are you cheering Rangers? I was so confused. And he said, Carina, you always support your home team when they're playing away from home. So even although he was a Celtic player, he had to support Rangers when they were playing and supporting, representing Scotland. So just those little moments, as a little child, have just absolutely. Yeah. So it's sad when you see those divides, because they are there and we see them and we hear about them. But so I think Grandpa had. He wasn't the best at many things. He made brilliant ice cream. He was actually, he'd gone on the maiden voyage of the Clyde, obviously, the maiden voyage of the Queen Mary. So they'd gone first class, because he was a footballer, to America on the Queen Mary. And they came back with the first enrobing machine, because they made choc ices. So the enrobing machine used to dip the block of vanilla ice cream into chocolate, and then it became the sort of choc ice. Yeah, nice. And they would supply all of the sort of cinemas in Glasgow. Think about Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly and all of those sort of. So my mum, she died last year. She's 96. She was amazing. Hard work, amazing. But she would know every single movie star, film. She could, she was just, because she spent her childhood selling ice cream in the cinemas. Oh, wow. Brilliant stories. Wow. So definitely family business.
And so how did you, where did you start? What's your youngest memory in being in food?
And the youngest was, and I have to always caveat this, because Victor's side of the family and my side of the family, he's got his story, I've got my story, but they're both equally important. But you've got me today.
There it is. So yours is the best one we're going to hear today.
So we had, I'm the youngest of 8 children. My mum and dad had, Daddy stayed in Cookenzie. So we had the ice cream shop in Cookenzie and fish and chip shop. And then my mother was very posh because she came from Glasgow. And so we had the café in
posh from Glasgow?
Oh, she was honestly, she was very posh. She was very posh. And they had the Weems Cafe, which was in Port Seaton, just next to where the open air swimming pool was. I mean, is it not a tragedy that we've lost that Lido, that open air swimming pool? I mean, I learned to swim there. Just there, North Berwick, we're bringing these things back. It's just a tragedy that we didn't hold on to what we had, because that was a really special place. Filtered seawater. Even if it was 67 degrees Celsius or whatever it was freezing, but it was still the best. So we were brought up on that coast. And I was born on the 25th of July. I think my mother, I wasn't there to remember. I was there, but not literally. She'd been working, because we used to have stances, ice cream kiosks all the way down the coast. And so mummy was working in one of the kiosks the day that I was born, and there was no mobile phone. So I think it was a bit of a panic to get me to the hospital. So I was born on the 25th of July, right in the middle of the summer, which would have been peak money-making time. And so I spent my life outside the Weems Cafe in a pram, one of those beautiful Silver Cross prams. There's fabulous photographs. Yeah. And my mum said she made more money that summer because it was the tradition to put a penny in the pram.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So she said that I brought quite a lot of luck to the family because we made more money from the pram, the baby, this wee baby outside the Weems Cafe. But I suppose my earliest memory would be, and she used to dispute this, but standing frying chips. I was about 4. She went, I wouldn't have let you fry chips when you were 4. I went, I did. But we were in among cooking and making shortbread. And the recipe that we've got is from we always serve our coffee with a little bit of shortbread, and we use Graham's unsalted butter, and we use Scottish flour and British castor sugar, and it literally is 3 ingredients that make something that is classic Scottish baking. And the recipe we got from, I think Jeannie Herriot was a lady that my grandmother had learned to cook from in Cookenzie and Port Seaton. These fishwives were sharing recipes, and the recipes were things like lentil soup, how to boil a ham, steak pie, all of those really hearty classics. So that's what my family's tradition was. And when we opened Contini George Street, which Victor's mum, who I mentioned, was Montgomery, Brunswick Street. So this was her neck of the woods. So this was the old Italian community, really. In post-war, it was originally the grass market. Right. Originally, the Italians settled in the grass market because it was like an Italian piazza. Yeah, if you look at the topography of that. But then they moved from there to this side of town, became important. Vulvan and Crola, that was Victor's grandfather's business, big part of the community spirit here. But Victor's mummy was an amazing cook. She really was a fabulous cook, and schooled on having to feed her husband at 1 o'clock every single day, because he was Italian. He was from Pozzuoli. He came to Scotland to learn to speak English. He was a policeman, mounted cavalry in Geneva, so very elegant, lovely, handsome Italian man, and fell in love with Olive. I think Olive kept him at his distance for a wee while. She was a wee bit skeptical, but they lived happily for over 50 years. So it was a good combination. But she had to have his dinner on the table at 1 o'clock every day in the days when everything closed. You won't even, you're too young. Everything used to close for lunch. That era of you would work in the morning, you'd work in the afternoon. Things have really changed so much in the space of 1 or 2 generations. So I probably learned to cook more Italian food. I mean, we always had pasta, and we always had sort of classics, crustula and our celebration dishes and in our family. But Victor's mum had far wider Italian repertoire because of her husband. So I definitely learned to cook Italian from mum. And then when we opened Contini George Street, that sense of celebrating our Italian, or those classic authentic dishes, 21 years ago when we opened an Aperol Spritz, we called that a George Street Iron Brew, because nobody had an Aperol Spritz before, and we couldn't describe that because it hadn't been described really. So I'm convinced that Iron Brew, the man who invented Iron Brew, had been in Verona and had tasted a Spritz, because it's the same ingredients somehow, same color, same flavor profile. It's just one's sugar and one's alcohol. So our George Street Iron Brew, or carbonara with no egg, with no cream, just those classic dishes, really inspired by Victor's mummy. And then when we opened the Scottish Cafe, that was pulling on the Cookenzie, the Scottish influence, and that love of the harbours and brilliant fish and chips, or a beautiful bowl of Cullen skink with some smoked haddock. Really sort of classic, hearty, good Scottish cooking.
And just remind us, what was the kind of the chronology of the kind of the restaurants being open? So Contini, obviously, number one.
Yeah, that was 2004.
Yep.
So I had just had Orlando, my first little boy, and that was our reason to start on our own. Carla was born in the December, and we opened in the April. We went on site a month after Carla was born. So we've got all these fabulous pictures of Carla in a little carry cot on site, with Orlando on site at 1.5 or something, 2 with his hard hat, Bob the Builder hard hat. And then we opened in the April. So GLM, a friend of mine from university, because I trained as a surveyor. Back to the point, how did I get?
GLM.
Yeah,
Who?
Ian
McKee.
Yeah,
Great.
So
Lovely lad.
Ian and I were at Herrick Watt together. He's a dear friend of ours. And Sharon actually was she said, Carina, when we were talking about leaving family business, because I was working with Victor, she said, there's a shop on George Street. It would have a brilliant terrace. And we went, we could never have a shop on George Street. That would just be impossible. Because think George Street 23 years ago, it was Hamilton and Inches and Grays, it was all these institutions. We thought we couldn't possibly be there. And then just perseverance and being in the right place at the right time, we got the opportunity. And the knowledge of, I trained as a surveyor, so having a community of people that were around to help us and advise us. And GLM did a brilliant job at the refurbishment. I mean, they pulled off a project. I think to this day, it's still the shortest build they've ever had, because we'd no money. We'd mortgaged our house to do it. We'd no money. But happy days. Happy days.
Can I go back on something you said there? You said when Orlando was born, you said there was a reason to start on our own. What do you mean by that?
Well, Victor had been in his family business, and I had joined and had been there for 6-7 years. So, but when you're 2 brothers married 2 sisters, it literally was very tight business. And when you are changing your emphasis to your own family, I think as in that sort of hierarchical structure, if you don't have kids, you'll fit into the wherever's needed. I think that because Victor and I were both the youngest of big families. But when Orlando came along, there was that sense of the responsibility had to focus on our next generation. So I think it was just the right time for us to do our own thing. And it served everybody well. So here we are. And then the third one came along, Ariana came along, because we were told we couldn't have any children. So Victor had gone to Murrayfield, and this, I hope he listens, the doctor listens to your podcast. I always remember he had a Porsche, and he said, Mr. Contini, and Victor won't mind me sharing this. Mr. Contini, I'm so sorry, but the operation hasn't been a success. You'll never have children. And in that family structure, to be told when you were, I think he must have been about 30. I think, how old was he? Yeah, he was 40 when Orlando was born. So we were old parents. I was 32, 33 when Orlando was born. So we weren't young. I think maybe now it's more common to be older, but then, people were expecting us to have delivered beforehand, but we hadn't. And so he ended up going to a kinesiologist. Victor went to a kinesiologist, Ross McCulloch. There's this different approach to health, and he said, you've got some deficiencies in your system. We need to work on this. And he had, through natural remedies, whether that was the case. We always think it was a trip to India that we got all these amazing temple blessings. We're convinced Orlando was an Indian baby. But if whatever happened, miracles happened, and we had our first baby. And then when the second one came along, we thought, oh, we weren't
getting good at
supposed
this.
to have a hen baby. And then when the third one came along in 3 years,
mastered it.
oh my God, it was like chop, chop.
Oh, dear.
So that was, but so the first years of George Street were crazy.
Chaos. Yeah.
Chaos is a good word. And, you know, we weren't, and I look at restaurants now opening, and definitely the learning process that they apply was very different to ours, because we literally had no money and we just had to open the doors. You know, we had a rent-free period, but the build was, I mean, at the time it was, I don't know, 250, 300,000 pounds. You know, it was a lot of money, and we didn't have a ventilation system that was compliant with the planning position. So we had to, and GLM were great. We had to find a solution, and BlackRock at the time gave us some additional, gave us an additional loan which we had to pay back at 7% interest. I mean, it was brutal at the time. But we just had to open the doors, because we just didn't have any money, and we hadn't built up a team yet, you know, because you know, now to open up a new venue now, you can trade your team from one of your existing venues, and you can sort of gently feed them in. Your account system be up and play and running, your banking system, your closed duties, your hygiene procedures, all of that. You know, it's all up and running, and you're just adding another one in, you know, if you want to. But when you're starting from scratch, we were literally, it was, and I always say this, thank you to all the customers that have come back. I know the early days it was hard, you know.
Did it feel stressful? I mean, because it sounds like a big risk to take, to say, well, we're going to just open the doors and hope people come. Yeah,
I mean, it was hugely stressful, but I remember my big brother said, you've got nothing to lose, because we literally had nothing to lose. So, and I think that's that. My big brother Chisidio, who's actually now living in, well, not is living, he's created a vineyard and agroturismo where my father was born in 1919. So our original family home, which had served our family for at least 500 generations, 500 years, not 500 generations.
I was like, wow,
that's a long time. Probably just the church records don't go back that long. So he's back there living in Italy with his extended family, which is very exciting. But he always, I remember him saying, he said, you've got nothing to lose, just go for it. You know, and I think when you are established and you do have a reputation, then that's when the risk is. You get it wrong then. Yeah. But at the beginning, when you're literally starting from scratch, there's nothing that you can compare it to, either your customers or yourself. It's just a matter of doing better every day and making the most of it. So here we are. Yeah. So it is better now. It's better now because it's not just Victor and I, it's an amazing team. You know, we've got Alina, we've got the boys in the kitchen, you know, we've got Maciek, who's been with us for, I think, 17 years, Patrizio, head chef, we've got Domenico Aga, a kitchen porter that's been with us for about 10 years. She's just a darling.
Which is really impressive, because I guess hospitality, you'd say it's quite a transient industry. You know, people just kind of come and go, but to have that level of retention is impressive.
We've got some, I mean, Caroline, our accountant, has been with us for 20 years. Yeah. Alina's 15 years, 16 years. Yeah. Diana at Scottish Cafe, 10 years. Wow. Sergio. I mean, we've got some really, really brilliant people that, and they've been very loyal to us. And I think the learning now is, as a business, how do we become more loyal to our team? You know, I think in the early days, we probably weren't as loyal as we should have been, you know, because you're maybe too emotional and you're not able to distance yourself from the business task or the personal challenges that each and every one of us have, you know? Yeah. So I think we're better now than we were definitely better than we were when we started.
Mm-hmm. So what then drove you to go past just Contini's and start other locations?
Just feeding our children. That's, and people ask us why we do. Yes, we like nice things, and we like to go on nice holidays and all. But ultimately, we've done it to be able to look after our children, and I suppose now it's looking after the business community, our business community family, children. I can't call them children, but our business family. Making sure that we've got a stable foundation for them. So, that Alina's got 20 years of, or more than that, of potential for her, in our little unit. Because it is a little unit. There are moments that growing felt really essential. We had to do something else, and we had to open another one, and we had to do another one. And there are many businesses that are, I look at them with admiration, that they've got the capacity to have grown as much. I think we've always had 3 children and 3 restaurants. That somehow or other has felt balanced for us, that we can manage that. We're always looking at new opportunities, and maybe there will be another one soon. Who knows? But it's got to be the right one. It's got to be the right thing.
Talk to us about food, because I love food.
I love
first
food.
of all, and I like Italian food.
I think we all.
We do. We all have to eat.
Let's talk food.
We all have to eat food. So you spoke a lot about family history, inspiration behind that. But when you are coming up with menus and creative ideas, talk us through your processes. How do you choose what makes the cut?
So most important is seasonality. That determines what goes on the plate. So we are, since opening George Street, we've been buying direct from Italy, so that Victor buys through WhatsApp. It's amazing. He was actually in the market last week with Alina, and we go over regularly. But in the early days, we had to go over far more often. And in the early days, it used to be fax, faxing the order for the produce. But we are so in constant communication with the market in Milan. We're buying all of the most amazing produce, and when the delivery comes in, it's special. You smell the sunshine. You open up a case of lemons or the tomatoes, even just the green leaves from the tomatoes. That everything comes on the vine, so they're staying fresh. Puntarelli, that amazing bitter Roman sort of, it looks like a truffade. It's fabulous. Just coming out of season. Artichokes, those amazing Mamoli globe artichokes. Then we're about to come into the fruit season, and then the first figs will come in, or the first peaches, and the level of excitement is like hysteria. At Christmas time we'll get chestnuts that are still in their spines. They're still cased, or persimmons, those wonderful. They call them the lanterns of the sky, of the trees. They're like, the Italian name's kaki. They're like very, very, very soft fruit. One of Victor's dad's favorite fruit, only available for us in December, and getting those, or just coming to the end of the blood oranges, those Taroccan oranges from Sicily. Those ingredients have absolutely shaped what's on the plate. We buy direct from a mozzarella producer that Victor has become very friendly with. Mozzarella from just outside of Naples. That buffalo, and that volcanic soil. From that amazing Vesuvius that's always towering above everybody's head, but that soil has created this food system that has allowed us to have mozzarella di bufala. It's just incredible, So Victor's buying from a very small caseificio, then we get our burrata from Puglia, And burrata is one of these things that it's amazing how, everybody thinks of it as this very, very soft, luscious, explosive ingredient. But what we don't realize is the seasonality of that as well. Having to make that in July and transport that from Italy to Scotland. Naturally, in the summer, when it's peak season, it becomes tighter. They have to use more of the rennet, so it's stable. So it's not just a ball of cream or a ball of milk when it gets to Scotland. So having those conversations and having that understanding of how things change with the seasons is really what it's all about. And where our parents felt really lucky is, and my dad was I suppose he must have been brought up by fishermen. He always said that Scotland the fish had to fight because the water was cold, and things like our shellfish is so much better in Scotland. Why do we export so much to Europe? Because it's better, because whether we should do it or not is another story. But the cold water is actually what gives it its flavour. It's had to fight for its life, literally. And so the quality of our beef, and our game, fabulous venison, or what we get from the sea, I think is a great combination.
And so obviously the passion comes through loud and clear, doesn't it? Around the way you talk, I'm salivating. It's getting close to lunchtime. Can we just bin this off and go to Contini? Anyway,
please, or Cannibal.
So you're obviously sourcing from Italy, but you also kind of source locally as well and have your own.
So that inspiration and that sort of awareness of the best that you can get then led us on to the Scottish Café and buying from our amazing Scottish artisan producers. So whenever we opened there, was it 2012, I think it was, we bought the domain name www.scottishcafe.com, www.thescottishRestaurant.com. I think it cost us £5. Can you imagine buying www.Cafe Italia or Bar Roma in Italy at that time? It just, and I think there was a moment that we really weren't celebrating what we had in Scotland. And Scotland Food and Drink, that organisation actually started at the same year that we opened at the Scottish Café. And that celebration of our amazing Scottish suppliers, whether it's Loch Creamery, whether it's lovely Errington's cheeses, we are buying from Denhead, the asparagus at the moment, amazing. We're so excited, the euphoria of the first of the new season asparagus. Then we'll go into strawberry season. There's not a strawberry on our menu until we get to Scottish strawberries. We've made an exception this year around rhubarb, because normally we wait for our own rhubarb, but we bought a wee bit Yorkshire rhubarb just maybe 3 or 4 days earlier, because we say, well, why not celebrate what we can do here in Scotland, and just wait for it and have that level of anticipation and then actually celebrating and enjoying the vitamins. The actual quality of the nutrients that's there. It makes more sense from a flavour profile, and it makes more sense from a cost profile as well. Why, and an environmental piece. Why are we bringing food? And I know we're bringing it from Italy, but that's only the stuff that we can't grow here. We don't have Amalfi lemons, and we can't buy sunshine all the time. So that awareness of the seasons and what Scotland's got, definitely. And that led us on to our kitchen garden. So we've got a 1 acre kitchen garden where we grow produce. Victor took in a huge amount of cavolo nero, an Italian ingredient, but because it's how much grows in Scotland over this, that was planted last year, and that's our sort of the last of last year's crop. Then we've got things like horseradish from last year. We just finished the Jerusalem artichokes. And then we're planting our broad beans at the moment. We've got very well established rhubarb, an early Timperley and a Victoria. So 2 different varieties of rhubarb. So one we get earlier on. So we got our first crop just at the tail end of the week before last. And then the Victoria, which is a heritage variety, we'll get that later on, and that will take us on later on into the season. Erica helped us establish the garden 13 or 14 years ago. We've got about 40 or 50 apple trees. We've got Victoria plum trees. We grow Musselburgh leeks, another heritage ingredient, understanding what is best for our soil. The fact that there's a leek that was developed and named Musselburgh leeks, and we grow that in our garden. We've got some amazing types of apples, things like James Grieve, White Melrose, these really heritage cooking apples, but the flavour that you get from them when you're making, whether it's an apple pie or an apple crumble. I mean, we don't have a massive volume of them. We're not enough to feed everybody in Scottish Café or Cannonball every day, but we have enough to really make an impact on the menus. And that's wonderful when we can name them.
Does that make it hard to run? Because you're doing things in the season, so you're going to have to change things
all the time.
It's not just that you print the menu and that'll do you for half a year or whatever. So that's constant turning.
It's constant. And we've got WhatsApp groups for the kitchen garden. So each of the 3 teams have a WhatsApp group for the kitchen garden. So they'll place their order with Victor in the morning, and then we'll harvest in the morning. So Victor this morning, I said, Victor, just have another half an hour in bed, because we had a late night last night. And he says, no, I've got a harvest to do. So
and does he do the harvest?
Well, we've got John who helps us, and John works 4 days a week. Brilliant. Really, really good. But Victor's very, that he loves being in the garden. So, and I mean, courgette flower season, we get into courgette. So we'll have probably maybe 4 times the size of this room just for courgettes.
Wow.
So we will do probably 2 harvests a day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. So we'll take the morning harvesting, and then we'll take the evening harvesting for the nighttime service.
It's a lot of logistical nightmares.
We're stupid. We're not doing this. I mean, we're doing it for. But if a business coach was to come in and go, right, Carina, explain your day and how does that interact with the team, you would go, well, that's not very sensible. But we love it. Yeah. And the team, we've got a team that love it. Yeah. There are chefs that want to work in a robotic environment. We don't attract that type of people. We've got our menus are at Cannonball and George Street are being printed every day. So we will have a different menu. So from a costing point of view, it's an absolute nightmare. But hopefully our customers can taste that and see the simplicity of it, because it's simple. We're just here feeding people. We're just giving you lovely, beautiful food and the best, freshest ingredients that we can get. We're looking after your health because we want you to live well and prosper, as they say. And then hopefully that reflects on us.
Oh, do you know, I think you're talking like a chef, but you refer to yourself as a cook, because you said that the other time we spoke. Can you maybe just give us your angle on the distinction between the two? Well,
I look at the way the teams, I mean, we've got Tommy up at Cannonball. Oh my goodness. He's a chef. He's old school skilled, his stock reductions, his skill around his beef Wellington, the skill around when he does souffles, our bread that we're making every single morning, that level of skill and, taking a whole turbot and filleting it, from nose to tail. We'll buy in, you will buy in a whole goat, and we won't, Tommy will. I don't have that level of butchery or knife skills and that level of patience and calm to run a service. It really is. And Tommy is particularly good at running a service of, so is Patrizio. So, I mean, so many of that. Sergio is a machine at the Scottish Café. We're looking after 700 people a day down there. But we're making everything. Mm-hmm. We're hand cutting those chips. Nothing comes in.
I can't help but smile. You said patience and calm in reference to your chef. Those are two words I wouldn't put with a chef. I'd say chaotic and fiery, and it's interesting.
To be able to really deliver and plate and look after, if you've got an event downstairs in Cannonball, we've got this 3-floor level restaurant in a 17th century building. I mean, it's the last place you should be putting a kitchen, but it's, so you'll have a dinner service going on in the restaurant, you'll have people having oysters in the bar, and then downstairs you've got perhaps a wedding going on and they've got a 4 or 5 course tasting menu. You need to be calm. If you're throwing your toys out the pram, that's not going to happen. And getting the people that can actually complement that and work together is hard. It is hard. And if you've not got the right, nobody's perfect. There's challenges in everybody, and trying to manage where those skill sets aren't perhaps in harmony with their colleagues is a challenge. But every workforce has it. I'm sure there'll be somebody in the office that, I don't know, they make too much noise when they drink their tea or something. It's like distraction.
You'll always find something.
But it's yeah.
So how do you go about then? You mentioned a lot about team. You've got How do you go about keeping a culture of the culture that you are wanting to foster?
So we've got our core senior team have been with us for a very long time, and they're absolutely bought in. And we've talked about Brexit, and we've talked about losing many of our team because of Brexit, but also COVID, the changes in expectation and work ethic pre and post COVID, also the changes in the hospitality sector of what was accepted before COVID and what's accepted now. I mean, majority of our chefs, not at Scottish Café, but at the other 2 venues, we've had a wee bit of a recruitment. So we've had a couple of weeks where they've been not doing this, but on the whole, our team work a 4-day week. So a 4-day week, they'll work long shifts, but we are managing their hours. We've got 44-hour contractual hours. And when we're looking at recruitment and we're interviewing other people, and they'll say, oh, well, actually, I work a 60 or a 70-hour week. I've got members of our team that I can't get to work less than 60 or 70 hours because they are so ingrained in the business that they just want to be with us, and they're just, and it's a hard work to get them to do less. But the majority managing their hours and creating that sense of well-being and understanding their work-life patterns that they've got with family requirements and commitments. Anya, who's with I saw Anya this morning at Scottish Café. She was heading up to Cannonball, so she's been with us for 10 or 11 years. She's got 2 wee babies. She works 2 days on the floor, and then 1 day she works from home. So it's trying to find a combination that allows us to keep skills, because we don't want to lose a mummy from the workforce, because she's a huge asset to us in terms of she knows our business and she's a great trainer. But we have to find a compromise that allows her to manage her family and manage her role. And then we've got Emma in HR. So Emma's been with us for I think 6 years, 7 years, maybe longer. I don't know. She's brilliant. She really is cuddly. She's classic cuddly HR, but she's and she's helped us. Our onboarding is really great, and we've got Misha helping her. We've got our Flow platform. I think a lot of the city use Flow in terms of the compliance piece, but then our buddy system, getting our team sort of those early days, getting them nurtured and sort of committed to the values. We have our things like our breakfast club. So we've got 3 babies or 3 children, so adults. They're all adults. They're not babies anymore, but they're my babies. And when I've had the luxury of having my breakfast in the restaurant every single morning for 20 years. I don't know if that's tax deductible.
Sounds amazing.
But it is. It really is. My scrambled eggs with fantasy organic eggs, Graham's double cream, Graham's butter, au gourmand, sourdough.
I'll stop.
Is brilliant. But And I have that every single morning, or a cheese scone if I'm at Scottish Guy. But, and I was having this. And then when the kids started to work for us, whether it was during school holidays, then I would naturally give them their breakfast with me. And then I told, we're not giving our team their breakfast. So the team now can come in. We used to have cereal in the office and in the staff room, but they never used to eat it. So the team can now come in half an hour before their shift, and they can order a bacon roll, scrambled eggs, porridge, fruit salad. They can have that in their time, but they're getting exactly the same as what our customers are getting. So it's saying, look, we acknowledge that hospitality is a long shift. It's a long day. You might not have had time to get your shopping. At the end of the night, you'll get your staff food, you get your break. But in the morning, you might not have anything in the fridge. So just come to us and we'll give you your breakfast.
Nice.
So those little things, and this is where our kids have helped us be better managers. Because, she's at Edinburgh University and she is working, she works maybe 1 or 2 shifts a week. And they've been a bit tight because a lot of the other kids are either holidays or got their exams. So Ariana had picked up another couple of shifts, and I could tell that she needs to study. She's got her exams coming up. And I said, Ari, right, don't worry. We'll make sure the team will cover. No problem. I don't want to let them down. You'll be fine. They've got more than enough help. I'll come in and cover for you. She went, Mummy, don't do that. So they're because I'm a generation. There's a generation of difference, and they do a better job without us being there, confusing them. They're in a flow. They know how their colleagues work, and actually they've got a better pulse of the audience, of their guests. That they're setting the pace, and I think me coming in to run service with them. What do I always say? You'll see me if there's a problem. So you really don't want to see me because we don't want any problems.
That's great though. But it's a great, so a mature attitude in business to be able to say, actually, I'm no longer required. In fact, it's better that I'm not there.
Yeah, I think
a lot of people don't do that though.
Well, but we've also, Victor's 62 coming up. He looks great. And that's why, we are still a business, but it's what's the next stage of the journey. So the garden has been a big part of Victor's journey. So the amount of produce that we're able to bring in, and we've got bees, we've got 4 beehives. So our environmental, our green tourism, all of these things, our sustainability, big part of what we do. But then we've also bought our 700 olive trees in Italy. So that's something. And I literally had to buy him a one-way ticket to get him back because he didn't want to come back. So within a few meters, literally a 5-10 minute walk of where my dad was born, we've bought these 700 olive trees. Wow. And Victor he was on the phone to he's got someone working with him in Italy, because Victor's all about people. He's Mr. Culture. It's the Victor welcome, and he connects with people. And so he's got lovely Mirko working with him over in Italy. Ciao, Vittorio, come va? So this morning call, connecting, and technology. You can go on FaceTime, WhatsApp, video, and you can be there. And he's, even though he's here just now because he needs to get the garden in Scotland sorted and he needs to help the team do other things. But that's just the next part of the project. Yeah. So to be able to have our own olive oil. So we know exactly where it's coming from. Yeah. And
will you, out of interest, will you only use it within the restaurants, or would you sell it?
We'll bottle it, but we'll need every drop of it. Okay. Last week we bought 3,000 litres, but we're buying cold press, extra virgin, cold press, single estate olive oils, we're from very small cooperatives. We are buying the very, very best. The grades of olive oil, you can have, a Tuscan olive oil, it's probably £60 a litre, down to, I don't know, £6 for 25 litres.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Okay, and we're buying at the top end, probably the first 2 or 3 runs of the pecking order, and there's probably about 10 or 12 pecking orders down. Yeah. We don't go near any of this down at this end. It just doesn't fit with our health. It doesn't fit with what we would eat ourselves. We don't have 2 standards. We don't have our standard at home and our standard in our restaurants. We have one standard, and whatever we can get that's the best at home, we want to be the best in the restaurants.
Amazing.
So,
Carina, what is your guiding principle in business?
Oh dear, you can always change your mind. I learned that from my big brother as well. That served me very well, because I used to be entrenched in a decision and felt we couldn't change even when things weren't going well. But now I've learned to say we can always change our mind. It might have been the right decision at the time, but now, with everything we now know, this is the better decision. Let's go with this one.
Amazing. Carina, thank you so much for coming on.
Pleasure.
Sharing your story, and we wish you all the luck in the future.
Thank you, and thank you to both of you, and come and see us. Breakfast, lunch or dinner, anytime we're here.
Thank you.
Thank you.